All right. Thanks everyone for being here. We and making an adjustment with us due to the weather there. So hopefully everyone's able to stay warm over today and tomorrow. Um, we have Jeremy Stoner with the Oklahoma Finance Authority that's going to talk to us about OIEP. If you guys have any projects or anything in mind, he'll go over this program. But if you have other questions on any other incentive or thing that the state can do to help you, please just let us know. We have people from Oklahoma Finance Authority, Oklahoma Manufacturing Alliance, and Department of Commerce on the call. So there's a lot of resources in this call available to help you. So I think that's about it. I'll kick it over to Jeremy Stoner.
Well, thanks, Henry. I appreciate everybody's willingness to, again, flip over, leverage technology, and take advantage of taking advantage to do this presentation without having to kick it into next week. So today, what I'm hoping to accomplish, and many of you guys, as I was looking to see who was coming in on this call, recognize a handful of names. Many of you guys are familiar with the program, but I'm going to go through it as if nobody's seen it. I'm going to make the assumption that you're new to it, or hey, you just kind of forgotten how it works, and we're going to go through the details of that over the next probably 15 to 20 minutes. Then we'll open up for questions. A lot of what is to be gained, what is to be learned from a program like this is from your questions. So be ready to ask those as we get a little bit closer. First things first, this is a Department of Commerce program, the Oklahoma Innovation and Expansion Program. Without boring you with too much history, it actually goes all the way back to 2009. The legislature passed an incentive program that allowed us to capture withholding taxes to offset a company's capital investment. But if you fast forward all the way up to 2020, we didn't have OIEP in its existing form. We did not have that program available for some of the smaller to medium businesses with smaller to medium-sized projects. In March of 2020, the beginning of the month, we were not working on the same projects that we were working on towards the end of the month, and I suspect that that was the case for you as well. We had a different set of problems going on by the end of March 2020. And as a result, this program was created. And since then, so since 2020, we've done this for now 5 years. And so this will be our sixth year to have this program in place. And it has done tremendous benefit and work for the state. So Henry, if we'll go to the next slide. We'll go through the OIEP program. What is it? Oklahoma Innovation and Expansion Program. First thing I want to point out is this. It says monthly cash payments. Sometimes you'll hear one or more of us slip and say this is a grant. It's not an upfront grant per se. These are monthly cash payments over the course up to 12 months, right? But there's multiple purposes or reasons that the program is beneficial. And so some of those bullet points there you see, first and foremost, is the obvious one. It lowers the cost of capital projects. So if you are investing in a capital project and you're going to get a monthly cash payment back from the state, then obviously that's going to reduce your net amount of cost for your project. Second, is obvious as well, is increasing the size and capacity of a planned expansion. If you're looking at multiple pieces of equipment or some kind of a phased expansion, by having monthly cash payments coming back from the state of Oklahoma, we oftentimes see companies that will increase the speed in which you do the project. So incentives are often a catalyst, right? That's the desire of an incentive, is to be a catalyst, and it will catalyze the speed in which somebody is doing a project. It'll also enhance the ability to finance a project. If you are doing a $100,000 capital investment and you need to finance that with your local bank, having monthly cash payments from the state of Oklahoma will enhance the ability to underwrite that and actually get a lower rate or better terms on your financing, or just get it paid off quicker. The last two were surprises to us. We didn't really thinking about these, or maybe I didn't necessarily think about these when we first started the program back in 2020. But the bullet point number 4 there is improve employee retention and recruitment. You think about the idea that most companies are buying new equipment utilizing this program. And if you're buying new equipment, you're going to have an edge in recruiting new talent, because the newest talent that's working through the tech centers or anywhere else are working on some of the newer equipment. And to be able to keep employees, you also need some of that new equipment. It was mentioned to me a couple different times that some of the younger talent, they don't want to work on the equipment that grandpa worked on 30 years ago. And it's just a fact of your business, especially for those you guys that are in that manufacturing and industrial space. Then the last bullet, creating new capabilities, revenues, and new jobs. This was a bit of a surprise, but maybe it shouldn't have been, right? You are if you are putting new equipment in place, sometimes that new equipment is not just more efficient. It's not just a matter of getting more production out, but you're also adding new capabilities. An example of this, a friend of mine up in Fairview, which is northwest Oklahoma, major county, he has a small job shop up there. He's got about 20 employees, but he added a new CNC cutter, laser cutter, that allowed him to cut a deeper or uh, just a more depth, right? So he could cut a larger piece of iron with this versus what he was able to do in the past. And that opened up an entire new revenue stream for him in the wind industry that he couldn't previously do. And he's sitting right in the middle of the wind industry, and that was not actually his focus when he bought the new machinery. However, working with and alongside the Oklahoma Manufacturing Alliance and using their Connects platform, they were able to see that the new capabilities opened up new opportunities for new contracts, new revenues, and he actually created new jobs that he wasn't actually planning to do by just simply upgrading some equipment. So we see a multitude of benefits from people utilizing the OIEP. The one extra thing here on this slide is this is a joint administration, Department of Commerce. We've got a couple folks on here from Commerce, the ODFA, myself, and our team. The Tax Commission has a vital role to play in this as well, along with the Manufacturing Alliance, who is also represented here today as well. At this website at the bottom of this slide says okcommerce.gov/OIEP. You're going to think about questions after today, but if you have those questions, if you have other ideas, things that you wanted to research, that is the website to go to. There's a lot of information out there. In fact, your application will also be out there when we get to that point in the process. So if we go to slide number 3, we'll see some eligibility requirements. So there's a lot on here, but let me just hit on this in kind of an easy to explain way. The first two bullet points are your primary eligibility components. We're looking for projects that cost at least $50,000. So that could be new equipment, that could be an expansion. And we're looking for that to come from companies that have at least $625,000 of annual payroll. So why do we have those two things? Well, at some level, we have to draw the line and say, how small of a an award are we going to allow? And for OIEP, we do incentives all the way down to $25,000. Now, to be able to get a $25,000 incentive, you've got to have at least $625,000 of annual payroll, because the withholding taxes from your employees is what pays for the incentive. The Oklahoma employee withholding tax rate on average is about 4%. So 4% times your payroll number will give you a good idea of one of the that's the amount of dollars available to help pay your incentive, right? So $50,000 capital investment minimum, a minimum $625,000 annual payroll. Those are two simple things that we need everybody to make sure that they meet at least those two items. The third bullet point here says you must be a for-profit business entity. For-profit is not the same as IRS. If you're a electric co-op, even if you're a 501c3, if you have a product or service that you are offering at a higher rate, a higher revenue than what it's costing you, then you qualify as a for-profit. We do give preference to manufacturing and industrial businesses in this program. The fourth bullet point talks about really information that you desperately need to pay attention to for your application. We're looking for 3 primary types of projects. We're looking for things that are innovative, something that helps you with your supply chain, or something that helps you with new markets. I'll give you some examples of those here in a little bit, but be thinking about that as you're preparing the idea of what project that you might want to go do. It needs to fit in one of these 3 areas, and we'll talk about that on, I think, in a couple of slides. There's a comment here. It says no double dipping. Basically, if you are taking advantage of other state um, incentives, we need to pause and evaluate. Okay, can you also do this one, right? So quality jobs or investment tax credits. Those are a couple of examples of things that you cannot already be doing and qualify for OIEP. If you have a federal grant or you have some local incentives for some other reason, that doesn't matter. Not for our particular program. You can take advantage of other things, but we can't double dip on the things that we're already using withholding taxes to help support. The next two bullet points just talk about timing. We cannot pay you an incentive for something that you're already doing. Um, but we also must make sure in this particular program that can start your project by September 30th. So you can't start it yet, but you have to be able to start it by the end of September, right? So that's kind of our timeline here. We're looking at projects that you're going to apply in the first part of April that you haven't started, but you will be able to start by September 30th. So there's our timeline component of this program. And then we have a $25,000 kind of minimum award in that next bullet point. And then on the very bottom, again, OIEP rules. If you've got other questions, this is a good website to go ahead and jot it down because now I've mentioned it twice. okcommerce.gov/OIEP. That is a fantastic resource for you. Next slide. What kind of award size can you plan on? Let's go through this. This is the number one question I get. Let's just suppose that you have a project that's going to cost you $100,000, and that is to buy the equipment. It's going to get it installed. It's the electrician that you're going to have to hire to come over and actually put in additional capacity for you to be able to add that piece of equipment to the floor. All of that's going to add up to $100,000. That may have an impact on the number of jobs that you have. It might be adding a job or two to that, or it might keep you even. You submit your application, and the first thing that's going to happen is the net benefit analysis is going to be taking place in the research group of the Department of Commerce. They have a team there that runs a econometric modeling software and evaluates what's the net benefit to the state of Oklahoma for you doing this project. Let's just say their net benefit analysis on your $100,000 project is $50,000. That's what they say the net benefit analysis is. Then you have to have resources to be able to pay that $50,000 back. If you have annual payroll of $625,000, you cannot create $50,000 in withholding taxes to pay your incentive. You would be limited to $25,000 incentive award because $625,000 of annual payroll at about 4% creates $25,000 of withholding taxes. Again, withholding taxes is what pays the incentive, and that's one of the limiting factors. But let's just say your net benefit analysis on your $100,000 project is $50,000 again, but you have $2 million of payroll, then you could create up to $80,000 in withholding taxes over the course of 1 year. Your incentive amount will be the lesser of the net benefit analysis or the withholding taxes available to pay your incentive. So in that case, the combination of these two things, the lower number is $50,000. The net benefit analysis on your project would be $50,000. So it matters what your project is, the capital investment. It matters the jobs impact. Those types of things all goes into that net benefit analysis. But it also matters how much withholding taxes your company can create to pay the incentive. So that's the two-pronged approach to determining what your award size is. There's one small, a little bit of fine print down here. You do have to be in good standing with the tax commission, or we'll have to work with you to get that done before we can actually capture withholding taxes. If we go to the next slide, there's a handful of different project examples. So what are the types of things that we're looking for, or maybe good examples of what we've done in the past? So again, we're talking about things that are innovative. We're talking about things that help you with supply chain, or we're talking about things that help you get into new markets. So if you're going to expand your facility, adding machinery, production line, new inventory, that's an obvious fit. What if that second one is to purchase a new bagging machine? Well, the story behind some of these projects matters, right? Because in this case, we're talking about somebody that was in the food industry that needed to be able to shift from providing much of their produce to restaurants and flipped that over into a retail strategy that got into more grocery stores. The new bagging machine helped them get into that new market for them. The third one, this is not a manufacturer, right? The idea of purchasing new servers, and storage for data centers. This was an IT company that actually helped support a lot of manufacturers in our state with IT related needs, data needs, um, gosh, a lot of fraud related issues. But they met those minimum criteria. They were investing over $50,000. They had over $625,000 of new or of existing payroll. They were actually adding jobs with a new server product, a new IT product that they were rolling out. So they met all of the criteria and got an award as well. You can look at some of the rest of these. Purchasing a new CNC lathe. Obviously, we're adding efficiencies, but the opportunities that come along with it are the things that we, as the state, as the program administrators, that what we're looking for. This idea of purchasing an automated welding machine that eliminated sending work out of state. The process for this particular company was they would work on steps 1 through 3, and then they didn't have the welding requirements in their own shop, so they outsourced this to Kansas, where they had somebody that would do the welding for them and ship it back to them. By adding the automated welding machines in their own shop, they just eliminated sending that work up to Kansas and bringing it back. The next one there, purchasing a CNC control grinder, robotic material handling. Again, we think about this idea by adding robots, cobots, things of that nature, that we're going to be eliminating employees, and it's just not the case. We find that time and time again. We find ways for this program to help support a manufacturer be more efficient, get more product out the door, but we're not actually seeing people get rid of or lay off employees as a result. So it is a win-win um, throughout the entire process. So let's go to the next slide, slide number 6. This is my favorite one to camp out on just a little bit because I'm a nerd. So being in and around the finance industry for the last 25 years, numbers matter. And so if you just look at this from left to right, we're looking at just the last 3 years of OIEP. And I put at the very top a mega project every single year. You define mega project however you want to, but if you look at the results of this program on an annual basis, it's hard to argue that the results aren't the equivalent of what a mega project of recruiting a new business into our state would look like. However, we are spreading this across, I think over the last 3 years, we've touched 57 of the 77 counties with these projects. So looking at total applications, you've had 590 applications into this program over the last 3 years. And awards for OIEP and BEIP, and really all this really means is we have companies that apply for OIEP. Commerce evaluates their project and determines that there is a better incentive available to them than what they applied for. And so we move them into the most appropriate incentive to get the most value for their project. That's all that really means. 500, and if you look at OIEP awards, BEIP awards, if you do the math, that's 533 out of 590 applications taken over the last 3 years were approved for an incentive from the state. 90% approval ratio. So two big takeaways. First of all, 533 out of 590, 90% approval rate. I've never seen that level of approval in any program I've ever worked with, whether it's a loan at the bank or whether it's some other incentives to the state, federal grants, anything else. This tells me that commerce and this particular program, the interest is in helping businesses grow, finding ways to help you be successful in this program. We're not going to go out there and advertise that we've got all this money to give away and the first 3 applications get funded and sorry for your luck for the rest of you. That's not the case. We evaluate every application that comes in, 90% approval rate. The majority of those that don't get approved don't have $625,000 of annual payroll. That's the number one decline reason. The other thing is we've been doing this long enough. There's a history of success in the program. If you haven't used the program, there's people on this call, and we could connect you with others if you want to visit with them to prove and show you and share with you that there is a history of success from companies using the program. I get it. Sometimes there's a brand new idea thrown out there and you don't want to be the first one to jump on it. This has been out there long enough, and the success speaks for itself. If you look at the bottom, capital investment, $622 million, almost 3,600 new jobs, $220 million of new payroll just in this program over the last 3 years. That's why the state is interested in this, because of the overall impact for economic development throughout the state. It's, again, 57 of 77 counties are impacted here. It's been a success, and it's a lot of companies with a little incremental incentive to make a pretty significant impact to the state overall. So if we go to the last slide, we have an outline of just the timeline. Where are we at, and what's left? So here in February and March, and thank goodness that we do have the ability to flip over to Zoom. 3 out of our first 4 meetings that we've tried to go out into the communities and have one-on-one conversations and let have lunch together and talk through this. 3 out of 4 of them have now gone over to Zoom because of weather related issues, right? But over the course of February and March, that's what we're going to be doing. We are out talking to different communities, their manufacturers, the businesses there that don't already know about it. You just need to know about it. Yeah, so that's our goal. In April, actually on March 31, the application window opens. It is that famous okcommerce.gov/OIEP website. The application will be available there 8 a.m. on March 31st. It will close at 5 p.m. April 11th. Please don't be like me and wait for the last minute. Now, your application, if you get it submitted by April 11th at 5 p.m., it will get reviewed. It'll just take you a little bit longer to get some feedback and results, because you have a small team of 3, 4, 5 people at Commerce that's doing all this net benefit analysis, and they're going to review over 200 applications. As they come in, they're going to be reviewing them. So if you're in a hurry to get some feedback, get it in early. If you know what your project's going to be, there's no reason to wait till the end of that application window to submit that application. So the earlier the better, just in terms of just kind of helping get everybody move through the process as quickly as possible. In May, everybody will have a response from Commerce about their project, what their award amount would be if they qualify, and to move forward. And then starting in June, we start capturing those withholding taxes to help pay for the incentive. There's a couple of things in there that we do require that you spend the first 10% of your project before you start making any payments, right? That's the one qualifier that you have, that you have to prove that you've spent the first 10%, or I don't pay you anything. But that's it in terms of compliance. The process really kicks off in June. We start capturing withholding taxes, and then we have a monthly payment schedule that we will work through the next 12 months. So that's the end of the slides. The last slide there you've got is just contact information. You've got John Chappie and Leslie Crawford are the primary research team analytics group. You've got their contact information. You've got mine, Jody Harris, also at the Finance Authorities. We've got several people here on the line as well, Jared Cooper, Mr. Bratcher. We've got a couple, I think Larry and Jessica on here from the manufacturing line. So we have resources available for you. But I will stop right there. If we want to open it up to any questions, I am happy to take those questions. Or
Jeremy, I'll go ahead and kick it off. Is the Michelin special category for, I know it's not OIP, but it's a little bit different, but it lowers some of those thresholds. Is that still open?
it is still open, and so what Henry's talking about is there is a program that was specifically set up when Michelin made their announcement to exit Ardmore with their tire production services or manufacturing. We began capturing some withholding taxes from Michelin while those employees were still here to create a pool of funds to help businesses that are in the labor shed area which is most all of South Central Oklahoma, including the Duncan area, to be able to use some of those dollars from Michelin and their own withholding dollars. Those funds are still available. We don't have to wait until that April or March 31 to April 11th window to apply. But yes, the short answer is those funds are still available. It acts a lot in the same way, but you just have funding sources from two places instead of just your own withholding taxes.
Hi, Jeremy. Jared. Question for you, kind of setting up a softball for you here.
Okay.
There's a lot of companies that, when they hear Cindy from the state of Oklahoma, think, oh man, this is going to be pages and pages and pages of paperwork and application. How hard is this application?
Well, my notes are at the office and I'm working from the home today, so let me just go from memory. The application is online. There is not a paper application to submit, but you're going to start with your basic information. Who are you? What's your FEI number? You're going to have a couple of questions in there that are very easy. If you've paid attention to us today, the easy question is, have you started your project? Have you started spending money on this project? The answer is no. And then you go into explaining what your project is, what the cost of the project is, what the impact of jobs is, and how does it fit into this idea of, is it innovative? Does it help with my supply chain? Or does it help me get into a new market? Most people tell me that they are done and through the application process in 15 minutes.
And to kind of tag on to Jeremy there, this is Jessica with the Oklahoma Manufacturing Alliance. If you need assistance with that application, I know Larry is on the call. We have a couple of new faces as well, Kellen and Clark. Our team is here to help manufacturers fill out that application. We will sit down with you and do everything but hit send to help you fill that out. We'll also help you look at projects that you could potentially identify, whether that's a new piece of equipment, whether that's looking at a new supply chain. Our team is here to help you potentially do proof of concept, that sort of thing, to identify what could fit into an OIEP as well.
Stacy, I think you had a question.
I do, and forgive me, but I'm new to the process. Are there any restrictions on if you have received one of these awards? Do you have to sit out for a year, or is this something for which an organization can apply year after year?
I am so glad that you asked that question, Stacy. So within OIEP, this is a 1-year program. So if you did a project last year in OIEP, that's going to be paid off, or it will mature by the time we start this next round. As long as it's a new project, you should reapply for the program again. We find, and I really just need to go do the numbers instead of making it up, but I think there's around 40 to 50% of the companies that applied last year had applied the year before. Right, that repeat process of utilizing this program to help them with some of their capital needs. They've kind of built this program in to the assumptions that they make about doing capital projects for the year.
Okay.
But absolutely apply every year.
Okay.
Is the short answer.
Jeremy, would you mind touching on the Big Brother program, BEEP, and just give a little info on that?
Yeah, sure. Business Expansion Incentive Program. We love our acronyms. We love to just throw out different things to keep everybody confused. But here's the deal. OIEP was created to look just like Business Expansion Incentive Program, BEIP. The only differences are, one, BEIP, you can take an application for this program anytime, all year long. It's just an open application window. The minimum threshold to apply for that program is a $2 million capital investment, and your company needs a $2 million annual payroll. Okay, so minimums are different, minimum thresholds to apply, but you can apply anytime. Those projects or those incentives, instead of being $25,000 up to $150,000, those incentives start at $150,000 and just go up. There's no maximum. I was trying to remember, the largest one I did was a combination of about $26 million of incentive over the course of a couple different applications that we stacked together. The only other thing about BEIP is it's not an annual program. It's, you could capture withholding taxes for 3 or 4 years to pay that particular incentive. Otherwise, the mechanics all work the same. We're going to capture withholding taxes based on the FEI number of the company applying, and we're going to give work with the tax commission to capture those dollars before it goes to the general fund, and we're going to pay that back to the company to offset their capital investment.
Any other questions? All right. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I won't hold you guys any longer. But if you guys have questions in the future or need anything, feel free to reach out to me or Lyle with the Dative team, or Jeremy or Steven or Jared or OMA. That, like I said, there's a lot of different resources available to you, and we're all here to assist you in any way we can. So I'll let you guys all go have lunch. So
Hey,
thanks
Henry,
everyone for being here. I appreciate it.
Hey, Henry,
Nice
real
to
quickly,
meet you guys.
real quickly
ahead,
before
Jared.
everyone goes, if you go to okcommerce.gov/OIEP, there is a one sheet on there that if you know anybody that might be interested in this program, you can obviously contact one of us. We'll talk to them about it, but you can also print out that one sheet. It's just a single page PDF that you can print out and share with people. We'd love for you to share this program with people. Thanks.
Yep. And I will be sending out the slides that Jeremy went over. So
Perfect.